Hey guys, Tom Kelly here from BeeSafe Lawns. What you're about to watch is a recorded version of a webinar that we did on Tuesday, November 5th, about the BeeSafe organic lawn opportunity. I know we had tons of people register, more than 100, and about 60 of you showed up. So we're sending it to you now, just in case if you were there, you want to watch it again or share it with somebody in your business. Or if you were unable to attend, we want you to see what we did. It's a relatively long recording, and I'll let you know that the first 30 minutes are the actual webinar, and the next 30 minutes are a question and answer period. So if you want to skip through the video a little bit, that's probably the best way to do it. But the first 30 minutes are the most important. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us here at BeeSafe. Otherwise, hopefully you'll enjoy the webinar and learn something about the BeeSafe Organic Lawn Care Program.
Okay, let's go, guys. Hi, my name is Tom Kelly. I want to thank you guys for joining me this morning. I know that you're all still very busy as the season continues to wind up a little bit here, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you this morning. We've got a really big group, which is a good sign for us, because as you guys begin to wrap up or see the light at the end of the tunnel with what you're accomplishing in your business, you're able to spend a little bit more time thinking about what you're going to accomplish next year. And for the size of the group today, almost 50 people, that's a good thing. And a lot of the names on the list I don't recognize, so that's also a good thing. We have oftentimes the same people continue to look at the opportunity, and to see new people on, that's a good thing too. So a couple things before we get started. Obviously, this is live. It's not a recorded version of a webinar, so take that for what it is. If you'd like to ask questions as we go along, the best thing to do is to type them right into the console, the GoToWebinar box that's on your screen. Sometimes I'll stop and I'll answer them. Sometimes I'll just keep going, because oftentimes, and there's people typing in questions now, thank you. Oftentimes I will answer the questions that you're thinking about a little bit further on in the webinar. So if I'm ignoring you, don't feel bad about it. Instead, I'm likely going to answer your question in the future. But it's important. I don't mind if it's interactive at all. I'm going to try to do this in about a half an hour, because I know you're busy and you've got things to do. But we'll do a question and answer session at the conclusion, and I can unmute people if we want. I have you all muted right now because with 50 people, actually 52 people on the call, it gets if I don't have you muted, it gets kind of busy and there's lots of feedback. So please feel free to type in questions as we go. We can also answer quite a few questions at the conclusion of the webinar, and we'll hopefully get as much information to you as we possibly can in a short period of time. So we're going to talk a lot about organic lawn care. We're going to talk about how BeeSafe is attempting to capitalize on the need for organic lawn care. We'll talk about who BeeSafe is, what the network is all about. We'll talk a little bit about our products and systems, although I could do a completely different webinar on that specifically. What's in it for you? There's an investment to get involved with the BeeSafe network. We'll talk about that, and then the next steps. Again, my name is Tom Kelly. I am the founder of the company and the Chief Operating Officer here as well. So let's talk a little bit about what BeeSafe is all about here. And a great place to start is this summer, BeeSafe and myself was featured in Entrepreneur Magazine as being a disruptor of 2013, which I think is pretty cool, because that's really what we're all about here. We're trying to do things a little bit differently. And Entrepreneur does this section once a year. They find 6 or 7 people who are working hard within an industry, but doing things differently and being successful at it. That's the key. So we were featured in the Entrepreneur Magazine Disruptor issue earlier this summer. If you Google it, you can find it. Maybe read it and learn a little bit more about in detail about what we're thinking and what we're trying to accomplish. It was an honor to be involved with the Entrepreneur Magazine article. So over the last few years, we've been able to grow quite a bit too and respond to the demand for a lower impact lawn care program in regards to pesticides and fertilizers. And we've brought on tens of thousands of residential customers, but some of some of our more notable BeeSafe customers you've obviously heard of. So Harvard University, which began an organic lawn care program on campus about 4 or 5 years ago, now uses the BeeSafe program. So Harvard Yard, if you walk around Harvard Yard at all, you'll notice the turf is really, really, really nice, and they use several of the BeeSafe products. Universal Studios in Florida, if any of you guys are going on vacation down to Orlando this winter, check out the turf walking around Universal Studios. They made a conscious decision to move away from pesticides and chemical fertilizers in the park a couple of years ago, and they came to us. I traveled down to Universal, spent a few days there. We put together a plan and a program, and it is working out really well for them. Wayne Prudhomme is the groundskeeper down there. I always like to bring up Universal because it's warm season turf. That's deep south, obviously, and sometimes people are skeptical as to what we're doing, whether it will work in with warm season turf grasses, and naturally, of course, it does. It works just as well, if not better. Also, the Portland Sea Dogs, which is a AA affiliate for your world champion Boston Red Sox. As far as I can tell, or as far as I know, they are the only professional baseball stadium in North America to be treated organically, and we work our butts off on that one. Quick question. Hey, Mike, good to see you. I haven't talked to you in a while. Yes, a transcript won't be available, but I'm recording the webinar, and I'll send it out to you guys so you can watch it again. So the question was, will this a transcript be sent? Not a transcript, but a recorded version will be available. So what is and who is BeeSafe? BeeSafe is a lawn and landscape or organic lawn care brand. It is a national brand that is designed to work with lawn and landscape companies to become certified BeeSafe applicators. Currently, we have more than 70 applicators across the country. We're in 31 states. And it's important to talk about what type of demographic our applicators are going after. And this is an important point because typically most people think that an organic lawn care service company is only going after that niche, that organic lawn care customer niche, that it's a small opportunity. And that's not the case. Our demographic, as we've gone through this over the last couple of years, has grown to include every lawn care customer, every home. We are not just targeting, as we say here, millennials or the whole food crowd. We want that customer, that guy in the middle, and each and every one of you who are in the business have one of those guys. We can keep him happy as much as we can keep the whole foods crowd happy, and even the more extreme niche, the organic-only crowd. We are going after, I always tell our guys, you have to invite everyone to the party. You can't just invite the hippies and the Whole Foods and the millennials. Let's get estimates in the hands of everybody we possibly can, and we'll be able to keep everybody happy too. The big question is, why aren't the national brands doing something about this as well? And most of them do have an organic lawn care program, but none of them promote it. Why haven't they jumped all over organics, and how are we going to help you beat them to the punch? Well, obviously, you guys know the big players: True Green, Scott, Lawn Doctor, Weedman, Spring Green. Those are the top 5 lawn care services in the country. And even though they do offer an organic program, if you ask your True Green sales guy what to give you an estimate for their organic program, the True Green sales guy is going to go, you don't want that, it's too expensive and it doesn't work. Well, the reason that they don't do that is because they're basically acknowledging that what they're currently doing, or what they've been doing forever and ever, is bad. So they've got an inherent business challenge that is going to, in the long run, hurt them. And we're going to take advantage of that. The BeeSafe brand is now competing with those big guys, and we're winning. We can create nice lawns, nicer lawns than any other lawn care service in the country, and we can do it while advertising everything we do to the entire demographic, not just the hippies and the millennials. So I want to talk quickly about our programs, very quickly, because I'm already being long-winded here. All of our products are essentially liquid fertilizers, biostimulants, inoculants that contain active strains of of microbes. So some of you guys have probably messed around with compost tea a little bit. Does anybody brew compost tea? Yep. Okay. When it's done right, it works really well, right? What we're trying to do is improve the soil food web. We're trying to help turf become dependent on the soil from which it grows as opposed to fertilizer that we're applying to it. So we're talking about organics based on science here, not organics based on feelings, and that's kind of what makes us different. We've been able to reduce the cost of our products significantly. So when you guys talk about how organics are too expensive, we've reduced that, so in a big-time way. So right here on your screen, you see two programs. One, our premium organic program. That would be a cool season turfgrass program of 6 applications over the course of really, March and April through October and November. And on average, our price per 1,000 square feet is roughly $2 per 1,000 square feet. Some are more expensive than others. Some are inexpensive. But our goal is to try to be in and around the neighborhood of $2 per 1,000 square feet. On the left, we've got that freedom program, and we use the word freedom because so many of our applicators now have begun to use our products in the confines of their traditional program. It gives them the freedom to move in and out of organics, and most of our guys are becoming more successful by integrating some of the philosophies and products of organics into their chemical program. What ends up happening, guys, is they're reducing the input. When you start applying microbial inoculants to help promote the soil food web, there's far less of a need for 5 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per year, or insect populations get more in check. You'll never use another fungicide if you guys are using fungicide. So a lot of our products are being put into traditional programs to really think about margin, and quality continues to be pretty good. So about your company, concerning your company, and if you're on this webinar today, you're trying to take a look at how to grow your business, how to stand out. We always kind of joke about the purple cow. A lot of you guys have probably heard of the purple cow metaphor before. If you're driving down the road and you see a herd of cows on the side of the road, you might not even say anything about it. You might not even notice. You might not even bring it up because you see it every single day. If you're driving down the road and you see a purple cow in that herd of cows, you're going to talk about it. And the best way to rapidly grow your business and to set it apart from all of your competition is to be different. And the BeeSafe brand and offering an organic program allows our applicators to be different and stand out from the crowd. I almost said cowed. Your customers will stand up and take notice. You'll be the trendsetter. You can be the purple cow. And what ends up happening is that people begin to refer you. People don't refer things that are, run-of-the-mill or what they're, accustomed to getting. Being different is important, and the BeeSafe brand helps you stand out and be different. So we want to talk about what you get when you become a BeeSafe applicator. I'm going to stop for a second and ask, is there any other questions? I've got about 5 or 6 here. Now would be a good time to go ahead and type some questions in. Yep, they are. The question is, are they all liquid? Yes, they are all liquid. We do encourage the use of a granular product in transitional lawns if you need to, but we can go into more detail of that later on. The questions are coming in fast and furious here. So, question is, if we don't become a part of the network, can we still use the products? Typically, no. We do not sell the BeeSafe products to anybody outside of the network. That's part of the benefit of joining the network. How much do chemical weed controls cancel out organic products and microbial activity? That's an awesome question. Awesome question. Each herbicide, each pesticide, I should say, has a different effect on the soil biology. The one pesticide that will wipe out soil biology are insecticides. Insect controls are designed to kill things like bugs, and we refer to the microbes in our products by slang as bugs. And an insecticide, especially a contact insecticide, will literally wipe out the microorganisms. things like herbicides, if you're going to spot treat with an herbicide, it will have very little effect on it. And lots of our companies will use chemical herbicides on a spot treatment basis alongside the BeeSafe program, and we're okay with that. We're absolutely okay with that. The rule of thumb is you have to do what your customer expects you to do, and if they expect you to use a chemical weed control, you should do it. So herbicides have a smaller impact. Things like a preventative or pre-emergent, grassy weed pre-emergent, doesn't have a huge effect on soil biology. It's when you start introducing things like chlorine. So chemical fertilizers have a big impact on soil biology when you continue to use them on a regular basis. Hopefully that answered your question. I got a whole bunch more here. Somebody's asking about fungicides. I think I made a statement that basically fungicides become a thing of the past. And you know, I should probably qualify it a little bit more. Nuisance diseases or cosmetic diseases like red thread, leaf spot, those kind, even dollar spot to a certain extent, kind of go away. And to simplify it, it's, you know, all of those diseases are formed, they're fungal diseases formed by pathogens, fungal pathogens. So it's a good guys versus bad guys scenario. So if there are lots of good guys trying to fight the bad guys, those turf diseases don't manifest themselves very much. So the wimpy ones kind of go away. I mean, if you're in the south and you're dealing with brown patch, we've got a solution for that. I shouldn't say you'll never use a fungicide ever again, because that's, you know, that's probably a little bit over the top. But you will see turf disease minimized a lot, an absolute lot. So we've got a couple other questions here, but I'm gonna move forward. I'd like to get to the end and keep it less than 30 minutes or so. So I'm gonna trudge on, and I'll hang around for as long as we want after the webinar, guys, to talk about whatever you want to talk about. So when you become a member of the BeeSafe network, it's not just access to the products that you get. We do have a line of proprietary products that we don't sell to anybody else outside of the network. You get access to that, but you get a protected territory. You'll work in a given area that we won't place another BeeSafe applicator in at all. You'll get a marketing kickstart package. You'll get access to our internal marketing programs, of our marketing materials. We put a big emphasis on marketing, guys. Marketing is a challenge. You get all of the branding, website, some My Lawn Quote pricing tool, and you get to come to training. So let's talk about some of these things in a little bit more detail. Protected territory is important. If you ask any one of our BeeSafe applicators, the #1 reason they join the network, it's to have a unique niche in their protected territory, and that's what BeeSafe allows you to do. It allows you to be the only expert or the only BeeSafe certified applicator in a given area. That's important. It puts you kind of on a pedestal. It makes you stand out as being the expert in this particular field in your area, and we try to exploit that as much as we can to help you grow your business. There's a couple different levels. You can get up to 125,000 owner-occupied households, or up to 250,000 owner-occupied households, depending on the size of your company and what your aspirations are. Marketing Kickstart package. We brought on Andrew Potoshnik from Lawn Care Marketing Expert to help us help you. Because, again, marketing is a huge part of what we try to do here. And we want you to become experts at lawn care marketing, which is why we brought on Andrew. So you get a personal one-on-one, what he calls a marketing makeover with Andrew. You learn how to implement the marketing plan every single month. He's going to train you how to position to sell recurring services. We'll give a $1,000 credit. I'll put $1,000 in Andrew's bank for you to spend as you see fit. He's an expert with SEO. You know, most of you guys probably have heard of Lawn Care Marketing Expert. If not, Google it, check it out. Andrew Potoshnik is a real smart guy. He's done a bunch of videos for us. We have a 5 to 7 part video training focusing on the marketing fundamentals below. And he's good, and he's doing a real good job for us too. We've also begun to develop a centralized marketing strategy. We're not a franchise, so we are not going to go out and market for you. So we're, you know, I always say you'll never see a BeeSafe Super Bowl commercial. You'll never see, we can't spend money to get you new customers because we're not a franchise. We don't want any control of your business. It's your business. We want you to run it the way you see fit. But the flip side of that is that we can't perform services for you. But we can put together plans to help you opt into and grow your business. So we're working diligently right now on the 2014 spring campaign, and Mike Riley, who's a BeeSafe applicator in Massachusetts, used a really good phrase the other day. He said, wars are won with strategic planning and power in numbers. And we were down at GIE last week and probably saw a lot of you guys down there. And for the first time, I began to notice that we're being noticed by a lot of the other vendors. With our goal is to hopefully have 100 locations by the end of this year. We begin to get some leverage when trying to negotiate different services for our applicators. So right now I'm working on a direct mail campaign. I hope to get out 1 million direct mail pieces for our applicators. I'm in negotiations with a pay-per-click management company that will manage your pay-per-click campaigns. Social media. If you aren't doing Facebook and Twitter and other social campaigns, I'm going to help you be able to get the best possible price on advertising through those channels. We're even looking at telemarketing again. I know 3/4 of the population's on the do not call list, but 25% aren't. List creation and price negotiation regarding that list. That's got asterisks on it because if you don't have a list, you need to get a list. List building and opt-in information from customers is the wave of the future. We no longer put an ad in the yellow pages and wait for the phone to ring. We need to get people to come to us. And we're working on that. We're going to help you do that. Marketing materials, all of brochures and door hangers and signage, all of this stuff that you see here are examples of how some of our applicators are using the brand. And we've got a relationship with a print company that will make whatever you want, whether it's from business cards to truck wraps. We can get you going there. So here's some other things that people have used for branding and using the brand. Truck wraps, billboards. We got a company in Delaware that did like 11 big billboards, postcards, brochures. Talk about the website in a minute. Flock flyers, door hangers, trade shows, all that stuff we've already done for you, and you just need to implement it in your own business. That's a picture of Hadlock Field with Dave Malewski's truck up there this summer. We had that place looking good. We'll build a website for you. We have a web developer who's going to put together a really nice looking website for local search engine optimization. It's got a lead capture tool on it. We've got a live pricing tool with My Lawn Quote. We'll talk about that for a minute. Take payments right through it. We'll build a website. Some companies have this as a standalone. Some connect it to their existing site. My Lawn Quote is a program that we developed with our technical person, Luke Tomanek at Votumba. And he basically, I went to him and I said, I need a better way for all of our applicators to perform estimates and to build their list. And he went out and he built this massive program that did more than we wanted it to do. So we negotiated with him. When you come on to the network, you get to use My Lawn Quote for free, but he still owns it and he sells it to the rest of the industry. Let me show you a real quick example of how it works here. This is just one small part of how we utilize the My Lawn Quote technology. At the BeeSafe Lawns corporate site, headquarters site, what you can do is, and we spend a lot of time driving traffic to this particular site. We've got campaigns working on this. So if a homeowner ends up at BeeSafe Lawns, they're going to put in their zip code, and if you are the authorized applicator there, it's going to go directly to your page. And what I love about this is that a homeowner can actually do their own estimate, and they can actually get I should slow down and tell you what I'm doing. A homeowner enters their information. We've got lead capture here. So at all times, you're always building your list. Every time somebody comes to check you out, you need to get this on your list and sell to them. Even if they don't buy this year, they might buy next year. They might buy the year after. You always want to continue to market to the people who've shown interest in your service. So it's going to bring them to a satellite picture of their lawn. I'm going to go super fast here because I'm really late. They can measure their lawn using the satellite measuring tool. It's not perfect. It's Google Earth. It's an accentuated Google Earth, and they can you know, sometimes there's trees in the way. I picked an easy one, but for the most part, they can get a decent square footage of their property. They're going to click through, and it's going to generate an estimate for them, specifically for them. Here it is, lawn care program. It's going to give them an exact price quote for it. It's going to do grub preventative, antley and tick control, and we've got aeration and overseeding here. That was a huge lawn I just measured. It was, what, 90,000 square feet or something. So they can continue to click right through and actually prepay you. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce the sales cycle. Instead of generating estimates, running estimates, following up on estimates again, we want to reduce that sales cycle to try to generate sales as opposed to estimates. We're working on this all the time, guys. That's an important part of the process. So training. Let's go to training. You get to come to the Organic Lawn Care Institute here in Manchester, New Hampshire. We do a 3-day training. And believe it or not, our Organic Lawn Care Institute is actually a New Hampshire Department of Education Division of Higher Education Commission career school. It's a licensed school. We've been at it for 3 years, and training is always really fun. It's a great opportunity to get to know other existing dealers. You can always come back. We've got different companies coming back all the time to help train new staff, even office managers, salespeople. We love doing the training, and it's really good. It's a great time. We have a fun time doing it. So the investment to get involved with the BeeSafe network, package 1 for 125,000 households is $14,900. Package 2 for bigger companies is $19,900. You get all the stuff we just talked about. I'll tell you what, right now, Dick Conley, who's the Director of Dealer Development, and Jeff Savastano, who some of you guys have probably talked to, are doing real well right now, and we're having a very, very good year. And as we head to the end of the year, they've been given the opportunity to make it easier for you to come on board. So if this is an obstacle at all, I know they've got a couple things running for November. They had a couple things running for October, and we brought on quite a few new companies. We can finance it for you. We can do lots of things. So bring it up with them, and they can make it work for you. So the next steps, let me check my time here. I'm exactly at a half an hour. The next steps to get involved with the process, if you do have interest, guys, is we will send you off what we call a proposal. It's essentially going to really encapsulate everything I just talked about. We're going to give you access to what we call our due diligence site. It's really a resource site. A lot of the things that we do we consider proprietary, so we password protect it. It will give you all the pricing for the products. It will put together your particular program depending on where you are in the country. There's white papers, some videos, some webinars. I do a conference call every Thursday, and I'm starting, no, every Tuesday. I'm starting our dealer conference call today, believe it or not. We really don't do them during the season because everybody's so busy. We post that information here. So the due diligence site has lots of information on there, and it's important for you to check it out. So that's pretty much a wrap with the webinar, and there's a lot of questions, and I'm gonna go to them, and I encourage you to type them in too. Please type in as many questions as you want right now, and I'll answer them. But I always end with this quote from a guy named Drew Houston, who was the developer of a service called Dropbox. And when he was giving his commencement speech at MIT last year, he said he was going to say to work on what you love. Now he's addressing the MIT graduates, but that's not really it. When I think about the happiest and most successful people I know, they don't just love what they do, they're obsessed with solving something that matters to them. And this always resonated with me, guys, because we find ourselves working in an industry that doesn't necessarily stand out as being incredibly progressive. Lawn and landscape business is a wonderful industry. It's a great industry. I've made my entire living in it from the time I was 22 years old, and probably the same goes for you guys. But bringing on something like BeeSafe, or even if you don't bring on BeeSafe, but doing something a little bit different to try to help move things forward in terms of being progressive, I think that that's important, and I hope that it'll help you be able to stand out and, you know, to be able to tell your kids and your grandkids that you did something a little bit different than everybody else did. And I personally became obsessed with it, and we're making great progress. So I thought that was an important quote. I'm going to look at some of these questions here, and guys, I absolutely encourage you to type in more. I got a couple of big long ones here too. Let me take a breath and read a couple of them, and I will hit the important ones, I think. Here's a good question. If you put down more product than is required, can you speed up the establishment of the soil food web in the soil? You probably could, Alex. And Alex, I remember meeting you at GIE. You probably could, but there's a fine line between agronomics and business, and we try to walk that line. If you're going to apply more product, you're not going to make any money. So we built the product and program to maximize the results with the least amount of money in regards to inputs possible. So yeah, if you really cranked up, you know, we've got a product called Growth Activator, which we've improved this year to deal with crabgrass. Crabgrass was a terrible problem. I'm sure lots of you guys had terrible problems with crabgrass. Everybody did. So we really ramped it up. We took a look at a study that was done in China by some graduate students and doctoral candidates as to how crabgrass basically puts out chemicals that sterilize the soil around where the crown of the crabgrass plant is growing, which hurts the turf, which allows the crabgrass to expand quicker. So when that crabgrass explosion happens, it's all as a result of soil biology. So we built the product to address that, to try to reduce crabgrass. If you really crank that up and apply double you know, what the label rate was, yes, you'll absolutely create an environment where the soil food web is going to increase more quickly, but it's going to cost a lot more. And there's a fine line. You know, as much as we know that consumers want an organic program or a program that reduces pesticides, they're not willing to pay a whole lot for it. We want to keep it as close as we can to the cost of a traditional program as possible. So we create a balance there. It's important. Robert has asked a very long question. I'm going to take a breath and read this. I think he's asked a couple of long questions. And Robert, would absolutely be, sounds like we should have a conversation offline too, but let me take a couple seconds and read this. I guess he's challenging my statement on fungicides, and I think I probably backed off a little bit with regards to you'll never, ever have to apply a fungicide ever again. It sounds like you work on a golf course, Robert, or maybe in a Bermuda grass environment or something. We have lots of products that will actually act as fungicides. We're just not going to go as far as label them as fungicides. Because we don't have $1 million to push through new fungicides through EPA. But the goal specifically, you give me any turf disease that you're dealing with, and I can create an inoculant that's going to head it off. So yes, you know, absolutely, we can. And will you ever not have to apply a fungicide ever again? That's silly. I'm not going to say that. For instance, up at Hadlock Field, we had an outbreak of dollar spot late in the year. And if any of you guys read any of my blogs, you know, it stressed me out, and I'd let my guard down. I had stopped applying the inoculant that we had put together for specific bluegrass diseases in a cool season environment, and we had a quick snap of really humid weather. The groundskeepers were watering completely incorrectly as a result of field usage. You know, it was during a homestand, and I had a quick flare-up of dollar spot that got really, really bad. I went in and I used an organic fungicide. There are products that are, this is a product distributed by Engage Agro that we distribute, and I used an organic fungicide to put the fire out. So will you never use a fungicide ever again? I'll never say that, but one of the goals of the program is to reduce those turf diseases significantly. Take something like leaf spot, where if, obviously it's not going to kill your turf, but if you've got 2 billion blades of grass that look orange, the grass isn't going to look good. The customer doesn't understand that it's leaf spot. They're just saying my grass doesn't look good. So we try to minimize those those diseases as much as we possibly can. Any other questions? Here's a good one, Ken. What is the percentages of converting present customers to organic? So let me, I think what you're asking is existing companies, say they have 1,000 customers, do they convert all their customers to organic, or do they, half and half? Almost all of our applicators offer 2 programs, Ken. They offer a traditional program, and then they offer an organic program, and they charge a little bit more for it. Not a lot more, but a little bit more. It helps with their margins. So I can't give you a specific answer as to what exact percentage, because every company is different. You would want to do what you feel is best for your business. A lot of our applicators are using the products in their traditional program, and they don't necessarily call it an organic program. We're talking about products that work really well under any circumstances, and they're cost effective too. So we're just trying to create nice grass more than we're trying to create advocacy to reduce pesticides. Organic lawn care works, and we want to, obviously the more places you use it, the better as far as we're concerned. But in regards to what % of customers will you convert over, totally up to you. Did that answer your question, Ken? I mean, that was kind of an open-ended question. If you want to type in again as to what you meant specifically, I'll address it. He also asked, what's the most per 1,000 square feet liquid needed? Awesome question, too. So because they're liquid applications, the more liquid, the better. So I always say I'd like to get 2 gallons of finished product per 1,000 square feet. So a product like our 702 fertilizer, it's a biologically enhanced fertilizer. The rate is somewhere usually 8 ounces per 1,000 square feet of concentrate. I'd love to see that delivered in 2 gallons of water per 1,000 square feet, but I know for in terms of production, sometimes that's unrealistic. So the recommended or acceptable rate for application is a gallon and a half per 1,000 square feet. So 7 ounces of concentrate mixed in a gallon and a half of water per 1,000 square feet. And so a typical 200-gallon spray tank at a gallon and a half will treat 133,000 square feet. Some guys put a pony tank or might carry 300 gallons or 400 gallons to be more productive. So hopefully that answers your question there. Mike, you're right. That's Mike Kaufman, who I've known for a long time, I was talking about my good guys versus bad guys metaphor in regards to fungicides and pathogens that create turf disease, and he compared it to human health, and that's absolutely true. We want the soil food web to be strong, and we want the good guys to outweigh the bad guys, and that's the case in regards to human health too. The stronger your immune system is, the less you get sick. And that's a great metaphor. That's exactly what we're trying to accomplish here. And it works too, which is pretty cool. Question about rust. Rust, the old cheese popcorn on the boots routine in the fall. Rust is a totally cosmetic disease that is common in the late season, usually only for a couple of weeks, usually only on ryegrass too, that hasn't developed a real good resistance to it. I wouldn't worry too much about rust. It's actually kind of a good talking point with your customers. Rust will never ever cause anything to go wrong with turf. It won't hurt it at all. I don't think you'd see that turf disease if in a lawn that was treated with the BeeSafe program. I just don't think it would manifest itself. But I always used to like when I was at a customer's lawn and they'd have a portion of the turf that was covered in rust, and literally it looks like cheese popcorn on your boots. It's something kind of neat to talk about with your customers. It's the old learning experience type deal. So you know what? It's funny. The pathogen that creates rust, I don't think off the top of my head. I don't know if some of the bacteria in our inoculants would head that one off. I think it would, but I don't want to say specifically. I don't think you'd see rust in your lawns treated with BeeSafe. But even if you do, it's totally a cosmetic disease. Okay, anything else? I've got a couple more here. Robert, who is epic with his questions. Robert, I'm looking forward to talking to you after the fact. But weed control. I'm surprised nobody's asked about weed control yet. And he's talking about Natural Lawn, Natural Lawn franchise. And he is saying, let me read this because this is true, very true. Natural Lawn found that they were faced with a paradox of offering appealing pesticide-free lawn care programs, yet found an extreme turnover with customers realizing weeds started to matter. Then when weed control was used, it started to defeat their main push, going into saying they were reducing pesticides. I understand your organics are better and more complete, but how do you deal with this? That's it right there. That is the ultimate question. That sums it up perfectly. We try to walk the line and allow customers to have their cake and eat it too. Because we found, after we've been doing this for more than a few years, that sometimes it's about saying that you're organic more than it is actually about being organic. So we're trying to be realistic with this here. So, Robert, we have a tool in our toolbox for every single problem that you'll come across. So if you need to kill a dandelion, we'll use a product called Fiesta, Spot Treat. Some of those herbicides, and I mentioned a fungicide earlier, they're products that we don't manufacture, but we distribute for other manufacturers. So especially with weed control, a product called Fiesta, which is that chelated iron weed control, organically acceptable. There's another product called Adios, which is an organic post-emergent for grassy weeds too. So there's always a tool in your toolbox for every situation you're going to face, except nutsedge. I'm going to put an asterisk on nutsedge. There's a product that's being developed, but we don't have an organic product to kill nutsedge yet. But you have to kind of demonstrate and set expectations appropriately. And if a customer wants you to spray their weeds with an herbicide, you have to. We want you to. You don't ever want to lose a customer because of your own particular advocacy. So yes, we've got a program that can address any problem you'll ever come across. But what we're finding too, Robert, is that you're kind of putting a bullseye on your back when you're saying, I'm going to do this organically, especially this summer where there was a lot of weeds. It was a terrible year for weeds and crabgrass. I think our organic lawns had fewer weeds than most chemical lawns, and I'll tell you why. I'm rambling now, so forgive me, and if I'm losing my audience, I'll catch up with you later. But we reduced the amount of water-soluble nitrogen that is being applied drastically. So even the Natural Lawn program, which is kind of a play on words a little bit, and they don't even make that play much anymore, but they're still fertilizing a lot. We stopped fertilizing in cool season turf grass areas. You don't see a lot of fertilizer in our program, so we're not fertilizing the weeds. That crabgrass explosion you see every year, sometimes we're creating 2-3 different generations of crabgrass because we're putting down so much fertilizer all the time. The chemical lawn care companies are just, it's got to be greener, 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 and there's no biology in the soil, so there's nothing for that grass to get green with. So you can consistently add more fertilizer. Think about the root system of crabgrass. It's very shallow. It's in the first, half inch of soil, where the turf roots are way below that. When you fertilize a lawn that has a first and second tiller crabgrass plant in it, it's just going to explode. So I guess my point is that all lawns are going to have weed problems and weed pressures, and sometimes by saying you're organic, it accentuates what people's perception is of those weeds. And a lot of times we have fewer weeds in our lawns than the chemical lawns do. But I'm not sure we're at the point yet where we can, we can basically say that, we're weed free. Because you're organic, people basically say, hey, look, I told you that stuff didn't work. So we kind of deal with that by saying you always need to do what the customer wants. And if you need to use a chemical herbicide, if you take one step back, you're going to take 2 steps forward. If you're going to lose a customer over it, don't. Because then they're just going to go back to chemical program and have chemicals applied all the time. So we don't raise our fist. We don't set out and say you'll never ever have to use a chemical herbicide ever again. We base our standards on NOFA, the Northeast Organic Farming Association. I use their standards, which are just very, very strict, sometimes too strict. But that's where our standards are. Even NOFA allows for a rescue treatment when you're crossing a threshold of what they call economic damage. You're going to lose a customer because of clover, and they want you to spray it with weed control. Even NOFA would say it's, organically, it's acceptable as a rescue treatment. I know I just kind of rambled through that, but that's an important point, a very important question, and you have to allow. It's about having your customers feel good about what they're doing more than anything. You want to address their problems and concerns. Everybody knows people who shop at Whole Foods just to tell you they shop at Whole Foods, right? You go into Whole Foods and you spend $400 where you could go to, Price Chopper and spend $150. So we acknowledge that, and we know it, and we deal with it. I like to think of us as a lawn care brand as much as we are an organic lawn care brand. We're a lawn care brand that specializes in organics, not a lawn care brand that points fingers and says if you ever use herbicides again, you're in big trouble. I have lots of questions, and I'm going to keep going, guys. So before I keep going, I'm going to put this up on the screen. If you want to get back in touch with us, here is some of our contact information. We're going to send a proposal out to you. We'll hook you up with the due diligence password and login information, and we will follow up. Here's the thing Dick's doing right here. If you come on board in November, he'll give you a free iPad. And again, that dealer fee, he and Jeff are willing to work with you to get you on board. So I'm going to keep answering questions. For those of you got to take off, that's cool. For those of you who want to hang out, talk lawn care all day long. Here's a question. Are 3 treatments of corn gluten recommended in the spring? It's expensive. Does it work? Should we just spray weeds with the herbicide or remove by hand? I'm not a big believer in granular corn gluten as a pre-emergent. It's a total contradiction. Corn gluten is at least a 900, maybe a 1000. If you are applying three treatments of it in the springtime, that's way too much nitrogen, Alex, and you're probably making the problem worse, believe it or not. A lot of our applicators use a liquid corn gluten as a preventative. We have a product, it's a 100 liquid gluten hydrolysate. And everybody who uses it says it works just as good, if not better, than things like Dimension and Barricade and Pre-M. It's a little bit more expensive, though. So we don't make it a requirement in the program. I would move away from the granular gluten. It's a great fertilizer, and whenever you use it alongside a soil inoculant, it will give you 60 days of great color. So a 1000 at 10 pounds per 1,000 square feet is going to give you a pound of N. Without an inoculant, it's not going to break down because it's water insoluble. But if you use it with an inoculant, the bacteria break down the nitrogen source. What happens is the bacteria consume it, then the fungi consume the bacteria, and the waste product is plant-available nitrogen. So I'm not a big believer in the granular corn gluten. It's way too expensive, too. Diseases like Pythium, Fusarium, necrotic ring spot, all those patch diseases. Jerry, where are you? Are you in the north or the south? Because I'll answer that question a couple different ways. If you can type in whether you're in the north or the south, I can answer that specifically to you. Pythium's kind of a crapshoot because it's usually with newly installed lawns, young turf grass with watering issues. We have a product we call the Organic Start. It's an inoculant that has some phosphorus and potassium in it. That would head off the Pythium. If you can't use the Organic Start when you're going, Pythium's one of those things that you kind of keep your fingers crossed with. That if you use the organic inoculant starter fertilizer, you're going to head that off. But 1 in 1,000 might get Pythium. The patch diseases like Fusarium, necrotic. In the north, on bluegrass, when you come across those in the deep summer, when it's humid and the customer's watering incorrectly, proactively, the products that we're using will probably reduce that. Probably won't manifest itself. It might fire up a little bit, especially if there's too much nitrogen in there. In the event that you do get a significant necrotic issue or fusarium, summer patch, brown patch, we've got a product called Organic Bioscience Powder, which we would have you use as a fungicide to put the fire out. And then we would want you to do another application about 3 weeks later at a half rate to make sure it stays out. But it's not common. It's not common. For the most part, you'll have far fewer episodes of those patch diseases. Pennsylvania, okay, so you're dealing cool season grass. So I kind of guessed right. Yeah, I think you'd see far less of it. You'd see way less of it, especially in a lawn that's not sod. If it's not 100% bluegrass, if it's not a monoculture, I think you'll see far less, if any, of those patch diseases. Question is, at what website can we see the two program cost comparisons? There's not a Mike, there's not a specific comparison like that on the due diligence site, which we'll hook you up with, but all of the pricing for the products is on there. And we change the program from year to year, and we haven't updated the website yet. I have 2 new products coming out for next year. One is I think it's going to be a 1300. It's an amino acid based organic fertilizer, and also the updated growth activator to deal with the crabgrass issue. So it might change in the next few weeks, but we'll set you up to go on that resource site, Mike. Look at all the pricing. And depending on what you're planning on doing, Mike, we can definitely talk and go into more detail in regards to the program and pricing. Will a well-balanced organic lawn look greener? Good question. And I'm gonna say that's subjective, but I'm going to answer different than what I think you think I'll answer. The answer is no. We don't want to overpromise with what we deliver. It's going to look as good as. And with organics, you're not going to have a roller coaster ride. You're not going to, for those of you guys who are using a 4600 round 1, and you get that nuclear green in April, and then it fades quickly. 3 weeks later, you're chlorotic. You don't have that when you're using a program like this. You have a much more even green. Is it greener than a very well-kept chemical lawn? The answer is no. We're trying to do it a little bit differently. Will you use far fewer inputs to get the same color green? Yeah, definitely. But you won't have a greener lawn. You know, a lawn that's been treated organically for a long time, like Harvard. If anybody goes to Cambridge, walk around. I almost said Harvard Yard, and you guys will make fun of me. Walk around Harvard Yard. That's the greenest grass you'll ever see, and the reason is because the soil is just so good. That doesn't need a lot of fertilizer. You start to use inputs like iron and seaweed, things like that are biostimulants that might create greener. It's making more chlorophyll, but the grass is so healthy, it's as green as it genetically can get. All right. Yeah, lots of crabgrass comments. Really bad. Crabgrass was terrible. Crabgrass kept me up again for the 20th year. I lost sleep about crabgrass. Here's a good question on the program. What would you approximately start in the year, and when would you end in Illinois? You want to do, Ken, what you want to do is you want to make it look exactly like what you've always done. You don't want to do anything differently. You got to get out as soon as you possibly can, so you'd get out as soon as the snow melted, and then about every 6 weeks through October or November, depending on what the weather gives you. I like to front load applications, so in Illinois, you would probably say the same thing that I've always said in New England, 3 by the 4th. If you can beat around 3 by the 4th of July, you're golden. You're gonna cruise right through. But start as soon as you can and make it last for as long as you can. If you can sell extra winterizer and because you finished early, that's good. We do a balance between agronomics and business. And if you're not running a good business and making money, the agronomics don't matter. So you want to bill as much as you possibly can all the time, which means get out as soon as you can and do as many treatments as fast as you can. That will help agronomically. It'll also help your business too. Where do we make all of our products? Good question. We manufacture our products ourselves in 2 different locations. So the bones of the product, the soil inoculants, the fertilizers, the microbial products, they're made very differently than typical fertilizer. It's not made in the blending facility. They're made in a lab, believe it or not. They're made in the laboratory, and we have one in New Jersey, and we have one in Florida. The other products, like the weed controls that we distribute, we have a facility in Massachusetts right down the highway from us. I'm in New Hampshire, but down Route 93, where we store everything, and we'll ship right from there. But that's things like the weed control, the grub control, products that we don't make but distribute will come from there. Products that we manufacture will come directly from the facility, directly to you. Mike, good question. Mike says, I'm probably the greatest BeeSafe skeptic concerning control of grassy annuals. That's crabgrass. But weeds, is IPM disregarded by BeeSafe operators? Don't BeeSafe operators also have a side program or bridge program that's more conventional? Absolutely, they do, Mike. Yeah, they all do. And sometimes even in the BeeSafe program, in their organic program, they bend the rules. Crabgrass this year, was terrible. We had lots of applicators go out and, with permission of their customers, use an herbicide to deal with crabgrass. So there's always a safety net all the time. You'll have your customers who would rather have crabgrass, than use a chemical, and that's okay. But we always want to address the problems as best we can. And you know how crabgrass is. It's just like sometimes it's a customer service issue more than it is a weed control issue. And you just got to kind of push them along until the fall when it starts to go away. Guys, I've taken up way too much of your time, an hour, and I'm absolutely appreciative of you joining me today. Hopefully I've answered all of your questions. I'm going to let you go. We will follow up with you, get you some more information. Questions keep pouring in, too. You're welcome. Thank you. Mike, I'll talk to you later on that one, for sure. Good questions. I'm going to wrap up. Thanks, guys. We'll get in touch with you, and hopefully you enjoyed the presentation, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks, guys.